The next property is addition reaction. Now, reactions that involve addition of new atoms to unsaturated carbon compounds are called addition reactions. Here, unsaturated carbon compounds, you all already know the meaning is compounds having double or triple bond. So, over here, unsaturated carbon compounds are getting reduced to saturated carbon compounds. Here you will see there is double bond and the final product is having single bond, but there are some changes that is being done in the structure. There is addition of new atom. Now over here new atoms are chlorine atoms. Okay, so here there is a molecule or a chlorine gas molecule. Cl2 is getting splitted into individual chlorine atoms. Here the double bond breaks. Okay, one of the double bond breaks. So what happens is here one valence is remaining for the carbon. Here one more valence is remaining. Okay, after breaking of this bond. So in place of that two valences, this chlorine will come and it will start getting bonded to the carbon atoms, and hence you will see that ethene is getting converted to 1,2-dichloroethane. Now this name is because of the position of the chlorine atoms. If you consider this as carbon 1 and this is as carbon 2, so at 1 and 2 position there is chlorine. So since there are two chlorine, it is called as dichloro. Looking at the position also, so 1,2 dichloroethane. Now since this is a compound having purely single bond, it is called as a saturated compound. So this is one way in which there is addition of new atoms that is taking place. Now in the second example, we'll see how an unsaturated carbon compound gets converted to saturated carbon compound with the help of a catalyst. Now catalysts are biological substances that helps in increasing the rate of a reaction. It just increases the speed of the reaction, but it doesn't take part in the particular reaction, so it just increases the speed without taking part in it. The next example is vegetable oils are converted into vegetable ghee using this process. So vegetable oils are basically unsaturated, ghee is saturated carbon compound. So over here hydrogen is added to unsaturated hydrocarbon. Here you can see there is a double bond. So in the now there should be some catalyst. In this case the catalyst will be palladium or nickel. So either in the presence of nickel or palladium, unsaturated carbon compound, over here vegetable oil is getting converted to saturated carbon compound, that is vegetable ghee. Saturated fatty acids are harmful for health, and oils with unsaturated fatty acids should be used for cooking. So these are some properties that is being mentioned over here, that saturated means the final product over here that is harmful for health, and unsaturated fatty acids should be used for cooking. The next chemical property is substitution reaction. The word itself tells you the meaning that one atom will be replacing or taking the position of the other atom. So the reactions that involves the substitution of hydrogen atoms of saturated carbon compounds with atoms or group of atoms are known as substitution reaction. So this basically substitution reaction will take place only in the case of saturated carbon compounds, that is compounds having purely single bond. So over here the hydrogen atoms that is present in saturated carbon compound will get replaced by some other atom or maybe group of atoms. Now, saturated hydrocarbons are basically unreactive and they are inert. Inert means they do not react so easily in the presence of maybe any agents or reagents. But especially in the presence of sunlight, chlorine is added to hydrocarbons, and this is a very fast reaction. So, what happens over here is, if I show you all in the diagram here, it is shown over here that there is a chlorine gas over here. So it will get split, this bond will break, so you will get one chlorine atom, one more so two chlorine atoms you will get from here. Out of these two, one will try to displace this hydrogen. Now this everything happens in the presence of sunlight. Okay, without sunlight this reaction won't happen. So here the catalyst should be sunlight. So one of the chlorine atoms will try to displace or remove hydrogen from here and start bonding with the carbon. So hence you are getting this next diagram. Chlorine has already taken place of hydrogen, that dissociated, or the hydrogen that was removed will now get bonded with that remaining chlorine atom and form HCl. So this is the way how methane over here with the presence of chlorine and sunlight gets converted to chloromethane. One carbon, so methane, single bond. Because of chlorine, it is chloromethane plus hydrochloric acid. So in this way, in saturated hydrocarbon, the hydrogen that is attached to carbon is replaced by another atom, that is chlorine over here, in the presence of sunlight. Here are some important carbon compounds. The first one is ethanol. The molecular formula of ethanol is CH3CH2OH, or you can combine carbon and hydrogen atoms and write it as C2H5OH. It is a colorless liquid, that is liquid at room temperature, and has a pleasant odor. Its boiling point is 78 degrees Celsius and its freezing point is minus 114 degrees Celsius. It is soluble in water and it is also considered as a good solvent. By solvent, I mean that it is able to dissolve other substances. It is highly intoxicating in nature, means consumption of small quantities of dilute ethanol causes drunkenness. And if it is a pure ethanol, that is also called as absolute alcohol, then intake of even small quantity of that absolute alcohol can be very dangerous. And even the long term consumption of dilute ethanol or alcohol leads to many health problems. It is combustible and it burns with a blue flame. So here are different areas where ethanol is used: for sterilization, drinks and beverages, used as a fuel, antiseptic properties, antidote, solvent, laboratories. Here are some properties of ethanol, or they have discussed the action of ethanol with sodium metal and action of ethanol with concentrated sulfuric acid. So when a piece of sodium is dropped in ethyl alcohol, now remember ethanol is also called as ethyl alcohol, it is one and the same. So when a piece of sodium is dropped in ethyl alcohol or ethanol, bubbles of hydrogen gas are observed. So this is ethanol, CH3CH2OH with sodium. So what happens is the sodium will break the bond between O and H and it will displace hydrogen atom over here. So Na will come in place of hydrogen. So this will just come over here and dissociate hydrogen atom and it will take hydrogen atom's place, and hence the ethanol is getting converted to sodium ethoxide, that is CH3CH2O and that liberated hydrogen is forming over here as hydrogen gas. the reaction of sodium and ethanol takes place like this, giving sodium ethoxide and hydrogen gas. The next one is action with concentrated sulfuric acid. At 160 degrees Celsius, or you can also consider it at 443 degree Kelvin. So this ethyl alcohol or ethanol undergoes dehydration. Dehydration means removal of water molecule. So it undergoes dehydration when treated with concentrated H2SO4 or sulfuric acid to form ethane. So over here alcohol group gets converted to unsaturated carbon compound, that is a compound having double bond over here. So in this case ethanol CH3CH2OH, here two molecules are shown in the presence of concentrated H2SO4. Now for all the reactions that we have learned so far, remember the catalyst very well, because only under that certain pressure or temperature and certain agents or catalyst that particular reaction will take place, otherwise it won't. So in the presence of H2 concentrated H2SO4 and this particular temperature, what happens over here is OH functional group is removed with one hydrogen atom from here. So one hydrogen and this OH will combine to form water molecule, and the remaining valence will turn out to be a double bond over here. So therefore ethanol gets converted to ethene, that is with double bond. Carbon atoms are same, only there is removal of hydrogen and OH molecule, means together we can consider it as removal of water molecule, and hence I call it as dehydration. So the products that are forming over here is ethene and water.